Hello, welcome back to Cinderella Math. Today I'll be going over how to convert percentages to fractions and then vice versa, and then also percentages to decimals and vice versa. And then at the end, I will show how to compare and order fractions, decimals, and percents. All right, so if you are allowed to use a calculator, feel free to go ahead and grab that. I would recommend one unless your teacher or parent particularly says that you are not allowed. Otherwise, I'd go ahead and have just your basic calculator or your cell phone calculator handy. I will be using on screen the Desmos Scientific Calculator. If you want to pull that up, you're more than welcome to, unless someone says you can't. All right, so we're going to start with converting percentages to decimals. So by definition, percent is out of 100. It's a ratio of a number compared to 100. So if someone says, hey, I got an 80% on my spelling test, they got 80 out of 100. Now that doesn't mean there was 100 questions on the spelling test, but that's what the percentage straight up converts to. Okay, see the percent sign there? 100. That's how the percent sign came to be. So it's always a comparison out of 100. Okay, so if your state has a 6% sales tax, so if you go to the store, buy some new jeans, whatever, and you go to check out and you look at your receipt and you see that you have paid 6% sales tax, that goes to your state. That means if you spent $100, 6 out of $100 would be for taxes. So like if your jeans cost $100, your total price would be 106 because you'd have to pay 6% sales tax. Okay, that wasn't the best example, but I just wanted to talk to you about what percentages are. Okay, let's convert percents to decimals. Example 1, 41%. Okay, if there's not a decimal in your problem, you're going to place it at the right of the number, and then you're going to scoot it 2 times to your left. 1, 2, boom. So this is 0.41. You can put the 0 there if you'd like, or you can just leave it like that. So 41 hundredths. Okay, that's it. So you are going to move the decimal 2 times to the left. And if there's not one there, you're just going to place it at the right. Okay, let's show another example. Example 2. 119%. So yes, even though percentages are out of 100, they can be more than 100. I do not see a decimal in that one, so I'm going to place it at the right side of the number, and I'm going to scooch it twice to the left. 1, 2. 1.19. And that's it. Sample 3. What if it's got a repeating? So let's say it's 33.3 repeating percent. So that one does have a decimal on it. So put your pencil on the decimal, and we're going to scooch once, twice. So that's 0.333, and then he would still have the hat, but we just know that that 3 is going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? But look, it's just 0.3333333. So we don't really need a third 3 to have the little hat, right? You can just put the hat right there and just say point, you can put the 0 if you want, 3 repeating. Okay, I'll do another repeating. So last set of examples here. Let's do one more repeating. Let's say it's 16.2% repeating. Put your pencil on the decimal, bump, bump. See, this time we are going to keep 1, 6, 2 with the hat because this time the 1 and the 6 we're not repeating. I'll do that one more time. Let's do 44.4%, and then that one was repeating. Pencil on the decimal, 1, 2. So that'd be 0.444, and then that guy's got the hat, but aren't they all just fours? So just to make life easier, you just say 0.4 with the hat. So see the difference between example 4 and example 5? On 4, only this 2 was repeating. So he's left the hat and we didn't take off anything. But in example 5, it's all just fours. So instead of writing like this with the hat on the third 4, why not just make your life easier and, save some handwriting? It's just all fours. So just say 1, 4 with the repeating bar with the little hat there. Okay, and what if it is 2%? I don't see a decimal, so let's put 1 at the end on the right side and then move it twice. Once. Uh-oh, we need another spot. So there's an invisible 0 twice. There we go. And again, you can have the 0 in the front or not. It doesn't really matter. Okay. And I'm going to squeeze in one more. How about 4.1%? So there is a decimal there. Put your pencil on the decimal and move it twice. Once, put a 0 twice. So that would be 0.041. Okay, and that's all you do. That is a percent to decimal. Just scooch it to the left twice. If there's not a decimal, you put it at the right side and scooch it twice. Alrighty, let's go the other direction. Let's go decimal to percent. So this time you're going to scoot or move the decimal 2 places to your right. So just the opposite of what we just did. Okay. Example 1. 0.13. Put your pencil on the decimal and move it once, twice. That's 13%. You don't need the 0 anymore because really we didn't need it to begin with. It would be, see how that looks weird? Nah, 13%. Okay, example 2. 1.7. Put your pencil on the decimal and move it twice to the right. Once, put that invisible 0 twice. That's 170%. Let's do a repeating. Let's do 0.5 repeating. Pencil on the decimal. Move it once. And now it's not an invisible 0 because of the repeating. That means a 5 followed it twice. And then technically there's even more 5s, right? There's 5 that all day long. So this is really 55 point, because the decimal's right there, 5 forever %. I'll do another one like that. And if you go back to example 1 and example 2 on the 13, bump, bump, I did not keep the decimal right there. Technically, it's 13.0, but we just don't ever write zeros when we can avoid it, right? Save yourself some handwriting. And then same thing, example 2, bump, bump. I did not put the decimal at the end because there's nothing after it. But on example 3, bump, bump, I did keep the decimal because the 5s were still after it. If it's just zeros after it, drop it off. Okay, let me do another repeating because that's the trickiest case here. Do 2.71 and the 1's got a repeating. So there's our decimal. And then again, you're going to scooch it twice. So once, twice, but there was 1's past this, right? There was 1's all day because of the repeating. So that would be 271 point, because it's right there, 1 forever percent. Okay, that's the trickiest example there, is the repeating. How about 0.0042? Put your pencil on the decimal and twice to the right. Once, twice. So that's 0.42%. Again, you can have the 0 or not. That's kind of personal preference there. Okay. Example 6. 0.765. Pencil on the decimal once, twice. So that's 76.5. No repeating. So just like that. All right. Got one more set here. 0.07. Pencil on the decimal once, twice. Now here's what a lot of people do. They go 0.07%. You don't need the 0, just 7. Okay. 3.5. Pencil on the decimal once, twice. That's 350%. And again, percents can go over 100. That doesn't happen a ton, but it is possible. And I'll do one more repeating just for fun here. Let me find a good one here. 0.5. No, I think I already did something like that. How about 0.25? Repeating on both. So that means there's 2 5s like all day. 2 5, 2 5, 2 5, 2 5, 2 5, right? Pencil on the decimal once, twice. So that's going to be 25 point. And then you can just put this one time, and then that's going to repeat percent. Okay, so you might have to fill in some of the repeatings to kind of catch the pattern there. Alrighty, that's all you got to do. Now let's go to fractions. So let's go percents to fractions. And again, it's out of 100. So that's going to be the key here. So if I say 52% and I want to turn that to a fraction, you just take that number, 52, and you put it over 100 every single time, because percents are out of 100. Now that can reduce. They're both even. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and that would be 26 out of 50. Oh, they're both still even. Divide by 2, divide by 2. That's going to be 13 out of 25. Sorry, I got a new pen thing, and my handwriting's not good yet. There we go. So you do want to reduce when possible. You won't always be possible. Let's do one where it's not. 7%. You say 7 out of 100, and that does not reduce. You're done. That is your fraction. Okay. Let's do one that'll come out improper. Let's do 140%. So you take that number, put it over 100. Ooh. Okay, now you can either leave this improper. If you did that, you can divide by 10, right? And that would be 14 over 10. Oh, they're still even. Divide by 2. That's 7 over 5. Answer. If you're looking for the improper fraction. Or you can do the mixed number. Either way, so if you want the mixed number, we'll do long division. 140 divide 100. That goes in once, which is 100. And that gives you a remainder of 40. So that would be, this is your whole number. I have a whole video on this practice if you need it. So 1's the whole number. This is the top of your fraction, the numerator, and the denominator stays the same. And then you would just reduce from there. But 40 out of 100, you could divide by 10. So So that would be 1 4/10, but they're still even. So that would be 1 2/5. So that would be the mixed number. And before I erased, I had the improper. Don't worry, I'll do another one like that. Let's do another one where it could either be an improper or a mixed. And that's just going to be like your teacher will decide what they want. So if the directions aren't on there, just ask the teacher if you need to turn it to a mixed number or if you can leave it improper. Okay, let's go 145. Wait, I just did 140. Sorry. Let's do something a little different. Let's do 215%. There we go. So take that number, write it over 100. Okay. If you are going to leave this improper, just reduce. So I know I can divide by 5. So that's 20. I'm going to use my calculator and do 215 divide 5. That's 43. And that doesn't reduce anymore. Done. Or turn it to mixed number. So that would be 215 divide 100. That goes in twice, which is 200, leaving you 15 for the remainder or the numerator. So 2's the whole number, 15's your numerator, your top, over your same denominator, and then that just reduces. You can divide by 5, which will give you 2 3/20. Same thing. One's just an improper and one's a mixed number. So it will just depend on what your teacher wants there. But you start the same every time by putting it over 100. Okay. What if it is 61.4%? Okay. That is a little trickier to just put it over 100. So let's actually turn it to a decimal first. So pencil on the decimal once, twice to the left. So that would be 0.614. And then now turn that to fraction. I have another video on this channel in the middle school math playlist, going from decimal to fraction, but you just say it fancy. So that's 614 thousandths. And then you can reduce from there. They're both even, so I'm going to divide by 2. That would be 307 over 500. And I don't think that would reduce anymore, but I'll check. Nope, we're good. Let me do one more like that. So let me do 3.02%. So that's going to be weird to put over 100. So let's turn it to let me make that 13.02. Sorry. Make that 13.2. There we go. So that's going to feel weird to put over 100 because if you did, it'd be 13.2 out of 100. That looks weird, right, with the decimal? So let's change it to a decimal first before making it a fraction. Put your pencil on the decimal twice to the left. So that would be 0.132. And then turn that to fraction. That's 132 thousandths. Let's see what that reduces to. If you divide by 4, you get 33. And divide by 4, you get 250. Let me see if I've covered it. I think that's fine. Okay, let's go the other way. Now by hand, this one's the worst. Fractions 2% if you're doing it, straight by hand. Okay, so let's say, example 1, you have 5/8 and you want to turn that to a percent. If possible, set it equal to a fraction with a denominator of 100 because percents are out of 100. But 8 times what equals 100? No, right? That's not in our times tables. So that doesn't work. I'll show you one in a second where it does work. You're going to go ahead and turn it to decimal. And again, I have a video on that in the middle school playlist. I'll just quickly review. If you're doing this by hand, you're going to divide. Top, divide bottom. 8 does not go into 5, so put a decimal, put a 0, bring your decimal straight up. 8 goes into 50 6 times, which is 48. And then put a 0, drop it down. 8 goes into 20 twice, which is 16. Put a 0, drop it down, and that goes in 5 times, which is 40. And there we go. So 5/8 as a decimal is 0.625. And again, you can have the 0 if you want, it doesn't matter. Okay, now from the decimal, we can go to a percent. Put your pencil on the decimal and move it twice to the right. Once, twice. So 62.5%. So if you had a spelling quiz and you got 5 out of 8, the percentage that your teacher would write on the paper is this. That would be your percent that the teacher would put in the grade book. Now, sometimes though, we can get it to be 100 and we don't have to do all that. So here's a prettier example. What if we had 4 out of 25, 4/25ths? Now we could do the long division and that will work. Or this one, we can get it to a denominator of 100 because 25 times 4 is 100. Think of quarters. And then you would just do this times 4. That's 16. 16 out of 100 is 16%. So if you can get it to 100, you're in business. But that's not always going to happen. Let me find another good one. Example 3. 21 out of 40. So you could try that trick, but I don't think 40 times, no, because go through the 40s times tables, 40, 80, 120, no. So we're going to have to do this the long way. If you're doing it by hand, so no calculator, you're going to long divide. The top, divide bottom. 40 does not go into 21. Put your decimal straight up, 0. 40 goes into 210 5 times, which is 200. That would leave 10. Put a 0, drop it down. That goes in twice, which is 80. That would leave 20. Put a 0, drop it down, and that goes in 5 times, which is 200. So the decimal is 0.525. Now we can change it to a percent. Bump, bump, twice to the right. 52.5%. Let me do a mixed number. I will show these all in the calculator too here in a second. I'm going to do 1 and 11/12. Okay, so again, you're going to turn it to a decimal. So it's going to be 1 point. By hand, we'll have to do 11 divide 12. That goes in no time. To boop, boop. That goes in 9 times, which is 108. That would leave 2. 0, drop down 1 time. 8. 12 into 80 goes 6 times, which is 72. This might be repeating. Let me check this. Yep, it's going to keep repeating. Oops, because that's an 8. So see if I put a 0, 12 into 80 goes 6 times, which is 72. And then that's going to be 8. And so this 6 is going to repeat. Okay, so our decimal is 1, because you just keep the whole number. 916 repeating. That 6 is just going to keep coming and coming and coming. And now turn it to a percent. Put your pencil in the decimal once, twice. So that's 191.6 repeating percent. Okay, I'll do one more mixed number and then they don't always come out as repeating. I guess I'll do one more that is repeating and then one that's not. So let's say we have 2 and 1/3. So turning to decimal, it's going to be 2 point. By hand, we'll do our long division. Again, I have a video on this if you need more help turning fractions to decimals. And we can see pretty fast that this is going to be a repeating pattern. The 3 is just going to go on forever. So you don't need to write it multiple times. You can just do that. There's the decimal. And now the percentage bump, and there's a 3 there. And right, they would just keep coming, right? So once, twice, so that's going to be 233 point, and then the 3 would just keep coming, percent. Let me do one that's not repeating, like 5 and a fifth. So that's going to be 5 point. Two. The decimal was just 2. Put your pencil on there once, twice. That's 520%. Okay. Alrighty. So now we will compare in a second, but I want to do a chart. This is a very famous type of problem in middle school and maybe even some high school math, where they'll give you a chart. You'll have a fraction, a decimal, and a percent column. I'm just abbreviating there. And they'll halfway fill it in. And then you have to fill in the rest. I'm going to make this first one 7 out of 20. And then right here, I'm going to do 1.44. And the percent, I'm going to do 9%. Okay, so that's what's given to you. And the problem is fill it in. And you can start wherever. I'm just going to start at the top row. 7 out of 20 as a decimal. We will do our long division, or actually this one, we could get to 100, couldn't we? If we times by 5. 35 out of 100, that's 35 hundredths. Bump, bump, that's 35%. Now, we're not always going to get that lucky. Okay, so let's say we didn't catch that could go to 100. We'd have to come to the side or our calculator and we'll divide. I'm going to just come to that bottom left corner here. 20 does not go into 7, but it goes 3 times, which is 10, 0. 20 goes into 100 5 times, which is 100. And there we go. So there's our decimal, and then bump, bump, there's our percent. Okay, coming to the next one, 1.44. So we can get the percent pretty easy. Bump, bump, 144%. And then for the fraction, that's 1 and 44 hundredths, right? Just say it fancy. Sorry, my pen's being weird. There we go. But that can reduce because they're both even. So that would be, actually just divide by 4. So that would be 1 and 11/25. That would be reduced. And again, I put it as mixed number. If your teacher wants it in proper, just turn that in proper, which I have a video for in the middle school math playlist. And then down there, 9%. Well, the fraction's 9 out of 100, as percents are out of 100. And then to go decimal, put your decimal here because I don't see one, and twice to the left. Once, twice. So that would be 0.09. Okay, so they give you the chart, you fill in the missing stuff. Okay, now let's compare. This is the last thing I want to do today here, comparing and ordering. Give me 1 second here. I'll find a good example. I do want to show you how to do these in the calculator, which I will. Okay, here's our first. Let's order from least to greatest. Okay, we have 2/8, 32%, 4/10, and 0.01. I would recommend turn everything to decimal. That's going to be easiest. So this last one is already a decimal. 4/10, 0.4, that's 4/10. Bump, bump, that would be 0.32. And then 2/8, that reduces, you can cut that in half, that's a fourth. So think of a quarter, that's 25.25. You could do long division or your calculator if you needed help. And now we can order it. Usually I find it easier if we line them up vertically. So we have 0.25, make sure all the decimals are lined up. 0.32, 0.4, invisible 0, 0.01. Now you could put these zeros, but they don't matter. Okay, least to greatest. So who's smallest? All these zeros don't count. 2, 3, 4, 0. This one's smallest. Small. Who's next small? 2, 3, 4. 2 is the next smallest. So second place. Who's next? The 0.32. He's third. And that makes this one big. So the smallest was 0.01. Second place was 2/8, and which was 0.25, but we should put it back the way they gave it to us. Third was 32%. And fourth, or the biggest, was 4/10. So highly recommend turn everything to decimal. That's going to be your easiest situation. Okay, let me show you again. We're again going to go least to greatest. Here's our list. 14/25, 64%, 25/43, and 54%. So turn to decimal. Bump, bump, that's going to be 0.64. Bump, bump, that's going to be 0.54. Now the 14 out of 25, we could times by 4 to get this to be 100, because of quarters. 25 times 4 times this by 4 would be 56. So 56 hundredths, that would be 0.56. Now, if you didn't catch that trick there, you could just divide it, either long divide or the calculator. The 25 out of 43, that is not going to turn to 100. So you're either going to long divide or go to a calculator and do 25 divide 43. So I'm just going to go to my calculator, and it's ugly. Let's round it off. So it's 0.581. That's good enough. There's more to it, but that's good enough. Now let's go least to greatest. Again, I like to line them up vertically. You don't have to, but line them up with the decimal. And if you want them all to be the same length, you can just add zeros so that all of them have 3 numbers. Okay, smallest. Well, 5655. So go to the next place. Well, he's going to be the biggest, right? Because he's the only one with the 6. So we go ahead and cross him out. This will be the biggest. Okay, the rest have a 5, so don't look there. 684. 4 is the smallest. So that was this one. 6 or 8. 6 is the next smallest, so he'll be second. And he'll be third, because we already had the biggest in place. Okay, so the smallest was this guy, 54%. Sorry, my pen is being weird. This was second, which was 14/25. This was third, 25 out of 43. And this was the biggest, 64%. So turn everything to decimals and then go. Okay, if you want to see how to do this in a calculator, I'm going to do that now. If you don't care about seeing it in a calculator, you're free to go. I have the Desmos Scientific Calculator up. Okay. Do they have a percent button? Yes, they do. So if you're using this calculator, the Desmos Scientific, there's your percent button right there. Now, not every calculator has a percentage button. Some do, some don't. So if you do, great. If you don't, it's no big deal. So what if we type in 85%? Oh, it says of. Okay. So it does not turn it. What if we say of 100? What does that do? No. Hey, we might not want the percent button. Let's do it for a fraction. So let's say 1/5. See how it turns it to a decimal very easily. So we could say 1/5 is 0.2 and then go once, twice, 20%. So this basically cuts out that long division. Okay. That's where this is most helpful when you have fractions. Let's do a repeating one. Let's do 7/9. Ooh, look at that. Now, you'll see that it's 0.77777777 and then an 8. They just rounded. It's because a calculator only has so much space. It's really a 7. Okay, so just ignore that. So 7/9 is 0.7 repeating. And again, you can write a couple behind there if you want. Pencil on the decimal, 1, 2. So that's 77.7 forever percent. So again, this just cuts out that long division. Okay, if you have a mixed number, I'm not sure if this does mixed numbers. Let's see. Let's say 1, and then I'll hit the fraction, 2/5. Does that do anything? It'll turn it improper, won't it? Yep. So this does help you turn to improper. So there's the mixed. Push that fraction button at the right-hand side, improper. Okay, and then you could take that improper, so 7/5, and do 7 divide 5. And there's the decimal. So we started with 1 and 2/5. We pushed the fraction button and they turned it to 7/5, improper. We divided and they gave us the decimal of 1.4. And then we go bump, bump twice. That's 140%. Okay. Alrighty, I think that's everything I wanted to teach here in this lesson. I think, let me just take a look here. Yeah, I think this is fine. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be back with you another day. Thanks, and bye-bye.